Welcome to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Island, A Cruel Thirst, and I am here with Melanie Schubert with an SCH.
Just
You
think about that,
did
didn't
I?
you?
Yeah, author of Severed Cape, which is coming out May 7th. So we're excited. We're anxiously awaiting our pre-order
I
information.
know.
Melanie, do we have anything yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm starting to feel like nervous, but good.
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are we
a
feeling
little
like
bit.
excited, nervous? Like
Yeah.
that little butterfly in the belly feeling?
Yeah. Well, just
Oh,
like not sure what to expect, but I feel like it's gonna be good.
yeah. Well, we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have a party.
I'm gonna
Uh,
email
okay,
Jason,
good.
our editor. Yeah, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna email I'm gonna email him and see if they wanna try do a launch thingy on the pod. So we'll see if we can tee it
Yes.
up, if we can organize it. Which is my reminder to send that email today.
Yeah. Send that email, Melanie, because we need to have a party in your honor and to
Aw.
celebrate this anthology. So how freaking fun is that? Did I tell you I misspelled your name wrong again?
Again,
Yeah.
wasn't that
Did I?
on purpose? Was it for my birthday post?
No, no, no. Well, yeah, no, I did that. That was on purpose.
That was on purpose. I was like, surely that was
No,
on purpose.
yeah, that one was on purpose. No, okay. So I got past pages for freaking A Cruel Thirst. And I did you. So there are, okay, spoiler alert. There is like the family tree, and there's like just, families that, it's mixed. So there's like lots of different families. And so there were Schuberts at part of the family tree.
Oh.
And I was just reading along, just reading through, and there was like a mention of the Schuberts. And I looked and I thought, motherfucker, I spelled it Shuberts again. I don't, maybe that's just what my brain thought your name was. So I
Wait,
fixed
wait,
that.
what's this family tree that is that on purpose? Like I'm in a
Yeah.
family tree?
Yeah, it was like okay, spoilers for A Cruel Thirst. Like there's just like families that live in this like little pueblo. And so
Oh.
for some reason with all of the like all the Fuenteses and Orozcos and Monteses, we have some Schuberts in there as well.
Stop. I feel
So
emotion.
yeah, so sorry to spoil that for you, but I just had to say, like, I was reading the past pages and I saw that Schubert and I was like, you bitch, you were gonna do it again. You were gonna do it
Would have been
again.
even worse if it was in text,
Yeah.
but also hilarious.
I really was tempted. I was like, do I leave this here? Like, do I just let it be? And then I said, no, I gotta not in the actual book. I gotta switch it. So I did, yeah. So I don't know why my brain wants to just erase that C
Yeah, I don't know.
altogether, but it's there.
Well,
It's
it's a
there.
cheeky C. Like you don't really need it to say the name. Let's be real.
Yeah. So like people understand that there's a Schubert, it's
Yeah.
just
Well,
so
and also the Croatian spelling is without a C because
oh,
you can put a something called a kapica. It's like a little V or like a little tick, and that makes the
ah,
S say sh without
wow.
the. And so then I've just seen it S with a kapica and then just U. So you could do that one.
Wow. Well, okay, next time I'll do that one.
I'll teach you how to write kapice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'd love that. Yeah, I'd love that.
I have to tell you something really embarrassing.
Oh, okay.
After, and like, I cannot tell you how hard I had to not piss myself laughing during our interview just now. So you're gonna have no clue what I'm gonna say. And hopefully Eva never watches this part because it's embarrassing. So you know how she said she had that class and then she was like, oh, just like a bunch of can't even remember how she said it. But basically the shitheads of the class had all written these autobiographical books about their like moving trips to India.
Yes. Yes.
And I was dying because like as we all know, I grew up quite religious and like when I was in college, we went on a mission trip to India and I wrote a book titled India 2008
That was the title.
title. And it was basically an it was like basically my first full length book. And I did send it to like Penguin Random House and I think that was like back like years ago now. I actually think I
Oh.
printed it and sent it to them via
Oh.
mail.
Oh
And I
my.
couldn't believe I
Oh
never
my.
heard back. I was like, this shit is moving. You know, like I'd like changed as a person.
Well, apparently they probably got dozens of India 2008, you
Dude,
know?
it's so shame. It's so shame, but I thought everyone should know I too
You
wrote
were
a
one of those pompous.
life-changing. To be fair, I think I'd just read Eat, Pray, Love, so I was like, yes, my
Sure.
story is poignant.
Yes. Well, sure. Sure. I mean,
So-
I personally would love to read this memoir from you. Okay, let me ask you, was this like, were you still like in your, religious era when you wrote this?
Yes, I
I'd
think
love
it
to
was
read
the
that.
point when I was like, it's weird because I always had a lot of questions from a really
Yeah.
young age. I think
Yeah.
this was my attempt, the old walk the walk, don't talk the
Uh-huh.
talk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like one of my biggest fears growing up as a child was that the Lord would call me to the mission field. Had a genuine phobia of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being like the kind of person that I was like annoyed at myself and I was like, and also like my friends were going. So I was like, let's do it. Like let's go on a trip abroad. And to be fair, the reason I actually went was because I was studying to be a teacher. And that lecturer, he actually did a really cool thing. He organized us to do one of our pracs over there. So
That's
we
cool.
went into like like I was teaching in the jungle. The town square was a cow tied to a post. Like we were
Nice.
out
Yes.
in the like proper outback areas and so that counted to our it was actually useful in that
That's
way.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't a traditional mission trip. We didn't like go over and spread the gospel. It was a
Yes.
teaching curriculum thing. So it interested me in that way. It wasn't really it was tied to religious trauma more than the religious part of the
Sure.
school, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got to
Well,
face this fear.
I love this. I did a lot of missions trips like out of school, and
Yeah.
I too was not meant for that life. I
No.
I was not I was not um serving is just not, you know, it was hard for me to be
A
like,
proper snort out of me. She
it
didn't
was
want to
hard.
serve. She wanted to be
I,
served. She was giving
yeah,
queen energy.
I felt terrible, but I was not born for that life. But I
It's
was meant,
definitely culture shock.
yeah,
Like, yeah. And I think that it's weird now because there's a lot of like interesting conversations that happen around those topics. And I always have mixed
yeah,
feelings about it because like I can see the good and the bad sides of it. Like people trying to help is people trying to help, but sometimes it doesn't
yes,
always go they don't always go the right way about it. But like,
yeah,
yeah, also
yeah,
I have very mixed feelings about it because looking back, I was like, oh, do I regret going on those and like whatever. But I don't know. It wasn't, there was things that I would look back and be like, oh,
yeah, yeah,
regret. But there was
yeah.
parts where I was like, well, that was helpful. So I always have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
100%. Like it's great to be able to see the world um and to be able to help in any way you can. A lot
Yeah.
of times you don't really need they don't really people don't really need help Like we're like
That's the
missionaries are
thing.
trying to help, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And so that part's like a little cringy looking back of being like, let me
Yeah.
bless you with my,
I don't like that part that
yeah,
like the I don't like that. Well, historically it was like the religion came with the help,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
kind of like
Let me bless you
it's
with my
like
Western ways.
yeah, I don't obviously don't like that part.
Yes, yeah. But like seeing the world and meeting
Yeah.
people and like experiencing life and the
Mm.
bonds you make, the trauma bonds you make with the people you go with is
Oh,
beautiful.
100%. Yeah, and they did set it up cool in the end because we were actually just teaching English, not
See,
I'm glad they were
that's
aware of
great.
that. We were teaching English and we left the schools with all these resources,
That's
and it was
cool.
literally like a mud. We put like a window in. There was cool stuff. Like it was a very practical one. But yeah, there was another
Just
one that
one
I
window.
remember. Hey,
Just one window.
just one. Well, there was
Okay.
none before. Big.
Oh, okay, okay.
And we were the ones doing like the labor, like these freaking college kids with no idea. And that's the thing again, like, but anyway,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
we digress from writerly things.
Yes, yeah, sorry, sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. I just
Yeah.
like sometimes I'm like, how much do our listeners want to weather of my
I
religious trauma?
I know. But I think they'll endure. I think they'll endure.
Yeah.
And I think we should all get a copy of India 2008. It was India 2008. That
I
was just
think
the
so.
title.
I think that was the title, my friend.
Very profound, you
I mean,
know.
it
I
feels profound when you live it. How are you, my
Uh,
friend?
good, 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 good. I'm good. That's all I have to say. I don't know what else to say. I'm doing great. Life is good. Just finished my past pages for A Cruel Thirst, where I did
Yes.
find out that I didn't spell your name right. So that's fun. But yeah, it's really cute. It's a good book. I love this book. Like
Ah.
I can already see the difference in my storytelling and writing and pacing. A lot
Mm.
of stuff I learned from not mistakes, but the things that I learned from what I didn't want to really do with Sinner's Isle and moving on. And I'm hoping that even in the next book I do, that I'll learn
Mm.
even more, you know. So yeah, so we're in past pages, which basically just means the formatting
Mm.
is there on this on the page. Like I can see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And we're just like tweaking, fine-tuning little mistakes and little things we're noticing. So it's like very close to being done, which is amazing. And I get to reveal the cover in April 15th.
Ooh, we have a date.
We have a date. So if all goes to plan, because sometimes, things don't go to plan, but like that's the
Mm.
plan until it's not the
Yes.
plan. But right now it's the plan.
Can we
April
pre-order
15th.
yet?
I
Once
think
the
once the
cover.
cover goes
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
because that's what like the whole thing, like they roll out basically is like the
Mm.
term where
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get it up on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and then the cover gets on there. So it's like getting it all prepared for pre-orders. That's
Yeah.
really what it's about. It's not even about the cover reveal. It's like the covers reveal is being seen. Oh, we like that. It sounds interesting. Let me go buy it. So it's
Yeah.
available. You know what I
That's
mean? Or
smart.
pre-order. Yeah.
Smart, smart.
Smart, smart. So that's what I'm up to. And I'm gonna possibly start working on something new next weekish or so, and possibly have something to talk about in a couple weeks or months. Who the F knows? Who the F knows? So
All good
that's,
things.
yeah. What's up with you? What's up?
Oh, I mean, I don't know whether I'll delete this or not, but like, I am just like, I don't even know what to do with my current energy after. Maybe I'll just leave it in. If they can
Okay.
make it through the India
Yeah.
2008, I can share. No, I just have a full out with like a dream agent, like
Oh
a
yeah.
dream agent. And
Yeah.
the query trench like roller coaster is so real. Like
Hmm.
I don't even know how I feel this time, like there's a rush when you get a request for a full because it's like it can be everything or it can be
Yeah.
nothing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And when it's an agent that you love this much, like it's hard to let I'll be honest with you, it's just hard to go about your your normal day without thinking about it. So I
Yes.
want to like, what did you do when you had important falls out? How did you stay sane? I'm asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. But and fuck. I mean
Yeah.
that's all I did. I cried. No, I think it's like in any stage too, but querying in particular is like
Mm,
because you know it's somebody's possibly looking at it at that moment. And
yeah.
same with like being on submission or just any freaking fucking fragging writingly
Right.
thing. It's torture.
It is
Um,
torture.
it's so
It's
hard.
also
Damn
like
it.
pleasurable torture when the good parts
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
But
It's
it's
like
like
so
also
great.
equally like it's just it all feels like very high stakes, but I don't know,
Yeah.
this time definitely feels different in terms of like I I've done it long enough to know no matter how like you can feel really like it's the one and I'm not thinking like that anymore. It's
Mm.
just more like a yeah, like a gray area where I'm just like
Yeah.
waiting, wondering.
Yes. Well,
It's
it's so
hard.
hard. It is. It's fucking hard. And like, it's always the advice is like keep working on something else. But
Mm,
sometimes your brain just cannot get to that creative
yes.
space. And
Yeah.
I'm feeling that from you right at this moment. I'm seeing it in
Oh,
your
yes,
eyeballs.
Henny. Like literally. Well, that, as you know, like I was working on two separate YA projects over
Yeah.
the last year that I was querying these adult projects. So I had two YA projects that I'm like three-quarters done drafting. But like I'll be honest with you, I think my brain's a bit melted with them.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I didn't have like I don't know. I didn't have that usual energy to finish it. But what I've done is like we were chatting in DMs. Somehow, in amongst my melted brainness, I forgot I drafted a whole ass middle grade book last year. And again, I
Yeah.
did that. I tend to find middle grade the easiest to write personally. It comes to me maybe because I've like done so many middle grade age scripts for the performing arts
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
Gobsmacked. And so I think that's where I kind of got my chops for actually writing big amounts. And yeah, so I naturally gravitate back towards that. So I've gone back and I was like, why didn't I ever get that in the trenches? And I think I just
Mm-hmm.
got distracted by my YA projects, which are very shiny and very exciting, but it's so much bigger. They're much bigger worlds, they're much bigger concepts. And whereas middle grade, it's like literally half the size book. And I kind of just wrote this one on just a very fun, juicy whim. So I'm just like, but even that, I'll be honest, it's been an effort to get my brain back into
Yeah.
I really want to try get back into the practice where I'm like waking up and writing every day because like I kind of gave myself time off and it's been helpful.
Mm.
But now I'm finding, yeah, I don't want to freeze up, which is like
Yeah.
that's a real thing when you're kind of waiting on other stuff that feels high stakes. It can, like you said, it can be hard to
Yeah.
actually focus on something and not just have the kind of
Yeah.
chaotic ADHD whirlpool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great to take the breaks, but I
Yeah.
feel like if you take them too long, it makes it so much harder to get back into the groove. And so sometimes you just have
Yeah.
to force yourself. But yeah, I feel like
Mm.
when I was on submission for Sinner's Isle, I could
Yeah.
not. I mean, it was after Pitch Wars, and
Yeah.
we had just been going through all the crazy, just everything,
Mm.
and I just could not find the mental space.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, like sometimes you have to write, like you
Yes.
have to get back in in that groove. I think it was maybe Sandra Proudman who mentioned like you have to keep like flexing your muscles, right? Or like
Mm.
building your muscles and and writing is just hard work sometimes. And
Mm.
sometimes you just have to write through it and continue, but also it's okay to take a break. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you've been taking a break
I
and
think I
now
took
it's
it
time.
100%. I'm just seeing if I saved this quote this morning, if I did or didn't, because it's like, oh my gosh, I literally saved this for myself this morning because yeah, like the struggle is real. Like it literally is. And I think when you have those kind of numb parts. I guess some people would call it writer's block. I try not to
Yeah.
use that word because I feel like it's this. Like a writer is a writer not because she writes easily or well, because she has amazing talent, because everything she does is golden. A writer is a writer because even when whatever you do shows no hope or promise, you keep writing anyway. And like I had a
Yeah.
few quotes like that kind of just called to me today about like it's not being a writer isn't about writing when you feel like it. It's about
Mm.
if you're going to do it as a career, it's it's going to be shit and hard some days, but if you take it as that's kind of how I personally try to view it as my job, some days it's going to suck. That's one thing that I'm like reframing about it as a career, that it's not every second is going to feel wholesome and magical and like
Yes.
as a career, because if you do it as a hobby, sure, it
Yeah.
might be like that because you'll
Yeah.
only do it when you feel like an escape. But if you do it as a career, no, there's going to be shit days. There's going to be hard days. There's going to be days where you hate it. But those days
Hmm.
tend to pass when it's like your passion and stuff. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I'm setting the practice. I'm like, okay, get up, right. So yeah, on chapter 4 already, revising. I'm a
Yeah.
little swamp princess baby, a little middle grade horror. So
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm freaking excited because I've read the first chapter or
yeah.
two of that, and I freaking yes.
Do you know what? I forgot that you reading that first chapter is what started the whole chicken chips thing, because you read that and you're like, what the
Oh,
hell are chicken chips?
oh yes. Yeah, chicken chips. Yes, we love chicken chips. I have to say, Australian chicken chips really do taste like chicken. So
Like
well
a
done.
roast. When you say it
It
tastes like
freaking
chicken, like
does.
roast.
Yeah, like chicken roast, like barbecue, like it really does taste like chicken. And so American audiences need this book because they need to learn about chicken chips.
Obviously, the most important part of
Yeah,
the book is the chicken chips. But you
that's
know
what I
what's
really
funny?
clung to.
I was like thinking to myself, I've been reading this book, The Adult The Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents.
Oh, okay.
She whispers as if her parents actually listen to the podcast.
I-
But somehow
okay,
it feels
send me
like,
that link. Send
oh
me the link.
baby, it's fucking good. My other
Oh,
Angela recommended it to me.
oh,
And
nice.
I can't so far I can't speak highly enough of it. Like, yeah, I really and like it's not a slash at our parents, but I do think that there's a way that they grew up that kind of is like a jar from our mindsets. So I've found it like it's like free therapy in a book. It's very
Yeah.
healing and it's like, yeah, I think it's free on Audible. Did I have a
Ah,
credit? Don't quote me on that because I might have had a credit, but I just clicked and it downloaded.
what's it called again?
The adult children of emotionally fuck of emotionally immature parents.
Ah,
Let me
yes.
double check.
Okay.
I've got it right here.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was like when we were talking with Val the other day, I was actually wanting to mention, I'm glad it came up. Yeah, I got it right. Adult children of emotionally immature parents. I was actually thinking like, yeah, when we had Val on the show the other day, I was thinking that a lot, like how shit it is that like mental health is so expensive. But like, yeah, there are some
Yeah.
free resources, like potentially this. Like I said, I
Potentially.
can't remember if it's free or not. Um, but yeah, like I was thinking we should get some people like this on, like people
Yeah.
with, because we love talking about self-care and mental health. It'd be really cool to have people from like actual so like how we had Val on, who that's their kind of focus. They have a
Yeah.
self-care practice. So yeah, I will send you that screenshot of that book. But my point being, I was like thinking about how I can like maybe like ham up some slight generational trauma themes in this middle grade. And then after, because I'm in the mindset of that now, I was reading it and I was like, you don't need to add it, Melanie. You already wrote it.
It just came natural to
It
you.
just
You didn't have
came
to
natural
try.
to me. I know. But no, I love my parents. But yeah.
Yeah, you gotta add that in there. Love them. Love them. Oh man.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh, what an
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. I mean, without our parents and our pasts and
I know.
all the stuff that we all had to go through as children, I think, it makes us better writers in the end.
It does, Angela, it does. I
gives us
completely agree.
gives us depth. It gives us character building, 101 is just our life in
Do
general.
you know who else
Ah,
I want to try get on the show? I really want to try, like, just going to put this out into the unit. Oh, there's your orb ghost. Did you see it?
yeah.
Flew
I
right past
yes.
your face, and there's nothing there.
Nothing's right here,
That's
Melanie.
wild. That's wild.
It's
It's
because
an
you're a witch.
infestation.
It's because you're a witch. There's literally nothing right here.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you gonna say before this? I get scared.
I want to try get RuPaul. Like, I know it's a tall order, but now
Okay.
RuPaul just had a book, House of Mirrors, come out.
Ah, yes.
And I was
Okay.
like,
Oh, okay.
I'm just
Could
wanting to
you
get into
imagine?
I know, but like I'm
We couldn't handle it.
verbalizing it because we could manifest that.
Okay. Okay, manifest.
Yeah,
Could we handle it?
manifest. No, but we would
Because
find a
listen,
way.
we still, and we've never had this person on, but there was one person that was like a little, celebrity-ish, and it didn't work out for, scheduling reasons.
But I mean, Angela,
Um,
you record with me every day, so you
well,
should be
yes,
fine.
that's
I
true.
mean, you're in the
I'm sweating
present.
right now just thinking about talking to you. Yeah. No, okay. I will send an email
But I'm
to
just like, if
RuPaul.
anybody knows, if anyone has connections to Mama Ru, Mama Ru has an open invite on our show.
Yes. Yes. I will email RuPaul when we get
Well,
off
you
of.
should.
Yeah. I will find Ru's people.
It's true
And
though, like we would probably be actually starstruck.
like, could you imagine? Like if we're looking at RuPaul and we're just like, so tell us
But you
about
know
your
what? That's the thing though, everyone starts somewhere. Like
It's
I know
true.
there's probably bigger, badder podcasts that will have RuPaul on, but like Ru
We can see what
started,
we're doing.
I'd like to say where we were, but I doubt that's true. I
It's
actually
gonna
want to
happen.
read it because I bet
We're
it's super
manifesting.
interesting.
Yeah,
I'd
we're
love
gonna
to know though.
manifest it.
That's what
Okay.
I mean.
We're
How are we
manifesting it
going
right
on
now.
time? I had some query hells for you since we. Oh, and I
Oh, okay.
wanted to mention, well, we've been posting about it from our thing, but there's that Kidlit for Ceasefire fundraiser going on.
Yes.
And
Yes.
obviously, I was going to say yours truly. Obviously, I mean you. How do you say it in
Yeah.
reverse?
The hell if I know.
Hers
Hers
truly.
truly. Yes, hers
Obviously,
truly.
hers truly, who I'm looking at, has query critique.
Yeah, a query, and I think it was the first chapter.
I love that
So,
you're not sure, but either way, the
yeah.
opportunity to work with this glorious co-host of mine is
Yeah.
one of the things up for auction, and also our Mama Japara. And
Yeah.
obviously, like you two are the people I work with most on my work, so I cannot sing your praises enough. Like anyone would be bloody lucky to have
It
your
would.
eyes on their work. But yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff up for auction. What are
Yeah.
you cackling at?
Just listening to you.
Is it my accent or my general like
I think it was just the adding the bloody in there just got me. Like I was like,
I didn't even
wow.
know I did it. How are we
Good.
on time? Yeah, do you want some query
Yeah.
helps? I
Yeah.
thought it was fitting since we had a agent episode and I
Yes.
know the listeners love them and I love them. They always make me feel better. Look,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like narcissistic for a moment. I don't know if it's narcissistic, but I just like it helps me to know there's people like this in the trenches. You know, like when you hear agents throw around numbers like, oh, 700 queries, it helps me to know that of those 700, some are these.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I love this.
the ones I have for you today, I have two books I would like to discuss with you over coffee at your convenience.
Oh, for
I don't want to
coffee.
start filling in forms until I think we are compatible.
Stop it.
Isn't that wild? Can
Stop.
you imagine sending that to an agent?
No. Just the nerve to assume we're gonna go to coffee. For
The
one.
audacity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like meet me in
Wow.
person. Meet me in person, bro.
Oh man, that sounds like me, like when I was on my mission trips, right? Of just like just just so arrogant and like annoying. Yeah.
Well, you'll enjoy the next one.
Okay.
Dear agent, my name is blanked out. I'm God. I feel
Shut.
like I feel
I wasn't ready for that. I
no,
was
I
not.
knew you were. I feel like I'd like to get out and produce something.
Yes, Lord.
I've been shopping for a book agent. It would help to get the word out. Any help available from you? Now, don't go with the crazy thing. Remember, there are consequences. Adam and Eve called me a liar. They
Oh,
died.
no. No. Oh, I love it. I
Oh,
love it.
good, right? Oh,
Oh,
I'm crying
so
my
bad.
mascara off. The
So bad.
audacity, but I'm just like
Wow.
literally like if you're gonna go with I'm God, then like maybe you could manifest your own publishing deal.
Yeah, like let's think about that. That's a good point. Like, does he need an agent? You know
That's what
what I
I
mean?
mean.
Oh
Okay,
yeah. Okay.
next
Wow.
one. I have written, to my knowledge, the funniest book known to man. The problem is I have to convince you to read it. Once you do read it and are able to stop laughing, I'm confident you will contact me immediately, desperate to
Wow.
represent me before anyone does. Good luck. The clock is ticking.
Oh, oh, and we've got stakes now. We've got high stakes. The clock is ticking.
Clock is ticking.
Oh my God. These are
Oh,
genius,
they're
though.
good, eh? I searched
Oh,
long and hard for these nuggets.
these are so good.
Dear Mr. Blah, you may remember we met not too long ago in the spirit world.
What?
That's the only clip they have.
That was it.
But I've got the agent's reply. The agent wrote, yes,
Okay.
I definitely remember. You were dressed in chinos, a dapper gabardine jacket, loafers with a manuscript in your hand, and I was running away screaming, the spirit world isn't all it's cracked up to be. I don't know if they
She,
sent that back or not, but
oh, but they should have
they should
100%.
have. We should probably read I've got one more, but let's read the
Yeah.
bio in
Yeah.
case we run out of time.
Yeah. Do you want to take turns again?
Yes. Yes, I do. I can't with you. How am I meant to edit this shit? I just have to leave it in. It's too funny. Yeah. Would you
Yeah.
like me to start?
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So our amazing guest today, Eva Scalzo, was born in New Jersey but lived in Houston, Buenos Aires, San Juan. How do you say it?
Juan.
San Juan and Boston before settling down outside of Binghamton, New York. She has been reading romance since the fifth grade when she discovered the Sweet Valley High series on inheriting her grandmother's collection of vintage Harlequin romances. Oh, go Granny.
Mhm.
She set a goal to someday finish reading them all on top of her already massive. So we have a child.
What?
Just read Harlequin romance and then on top of her massive TBR.
You get your brain out of the gutter.
It's
Get
always
your
there.
brain. It's always
You
there.
read, you read
Her
fast.
her massive TBR. Eva has a BA in the Humanities from the University of Puerto Rico and an MA in Publishing and Writing from Emerson College. Since graduating in 2002, she has spent her career in scholarly publishing, working for uh, Houghton Mifflin,
Sounds good to me.
Miff, Mifflin, Blackwell Publishing. Word, this is so bad. I'm so sorry. Let me read.
Nothing could
Okay.
be worse than what I just did. Go, you got to be fast. We've
Okay.
got
Oh,
one
sorry. Sorry.
minute.
Sorry. Oh, shit. Okay. Working for Houghton Mifflin Blackwell Publishing John Wiley and Sons, and Cornell University in the variety of roles. She has been with Speilberg Literary since 2013 and started accepting clients in 2017. Eva is a member of the AALA and SCBWI.
In adult fiction, Eva represents romance, all subgenres but inspirational, fantasy, and selected upmarket women's fiction and mystery/thriller. She also represents all subgenres of YA and select middle grade fiction, literary, and fantasy. Before you hit submit on any query, sorry, I'm done.
Before you hit submit on any queries, please verify her manuscript wish list. Let's get Eva on the show.
I didn't even know how this happened to me, but I can hardly see anymore. I'm crying so hard.
Once you saw Massive, you were done.
It doesn't take much for me. And I hope to always be laughing at massive TBRs.
Well, welcome. We're so excited to have you on and just chat all things agenting and bookish and life and all the good stuff. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. I love talking about publishing. So I'm always happy to talk about books and the industry. There's just so much fun. I mean, there's a lot of wild and not so fun stuff too, but
yeah,
such is life.
Yeah, definitely. The good with the bad. Lots of bad. Hopefully more good.
Well, we want to hear it all today.
Yeah.
Starting with our favorite questions, possibly the most important ones, which are just some random facts to get to know you better. So one of the ones we just love to ask is, what is the strangest thing you own?
The strangest thing I own? I don't even know.
It's too many.
I mean, I'll just pull something from my desk. So I have this, it's a little raft unicorn / cell phone holder that my daughter, she picked it up. We were attending one of my clients' signing events. It was like her launch event, and my youngest daughter came with me, and she's obsessed with unicorns. And so she insisted that we buy this thing, and of course has never used it. So I use it all the time.
That's so
and
cute.
It just sits right here on my desk.
That's adorable. Do you actually use it? Like, do you hold your phone?
I do. I'll put my phone on it, and we'll use it for it's especially if I'm doing I'm multitasking. So sometimes I'll read, or sometimes I'll throw on an episode of Friends or whatever. A little bit of ADHD where I need to hyper focus and have something distracting going on in the background. So I throw on my, and it's the perfect place to hold it.
I love that. And, it makes you just think of your daughter. And
exactly.
I think that's sweet. And now, is Friends your go-to show?
I try to find shows that I watch over and over again. I mean, I've also been on a Heartstopper kick, and Young Royals, which the last season just came out 2 weeks ago. Immediately binged.
Yes, I love you.
I gotta get on my. I know. I need to get on the Young Royals game because I think I've maybe watched 2 episodes, so I'm a little behind.
Yeah,
I'll work on that.
It's it's not that many. It's it's a good weekend binge. Lots of highs and lows and delicious royal drama that it doesn't make you feel bad, unlike other royal drama that would make you feel bad.
Yeah. Give us all the fictitious stuff, right? That it's I love it. I'm here for it.
What is that
you
think of too often? What is your Roman Empire?
Oh, my Roman Empire. These are good. These are really tough questions.
They are. We come in with the hard-hitting stuff.
Honestly, right now, it's Taylor Swift. I'm so obsessed with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and their entire romance. It just I've been caught up in all the Taylor Swift slash football related content since the fall.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I think for me, it's partly because I actually have always been an American football fan. I mean, I grew up watching it with my great uncle, and I moved to Boston right when the Patriots started really winning. So of course,
Yeah.
I had a good, like, it was a good time to be a football fan in Boston when I lived there. So, not so great right now for Pats fans, but that's okay. Um, but like, so it's a sport that I actually do watch. And so then I have, I'm a big Swiftie as well. And, I've been to two of Taylor's concerts, and I'm going to another one in August. So, it's just like right now it's like my current obsession, and I just can't stop, like, going down the TikTok rabbit holes and
Yes.
I love
Yes.
this
Twitter
answer.
threads.
I love this answer so much, and I want to expand just a little because I want to try to understand the full Taylor Swift phenomenon. So I want to know, like, what is it about her that really makes you fangirl?
I think part of it is I find that a lot of what she writes about is very relatable, especially for women. And even, like, obviously she's someone who's very privileged, who has a lot of, luck on her side, even when she sort of pretends to be a victim, because I think sometimes she like overplays that hand a little bit given the amount of privilege that she does have. But besides that, I think that she's still a voice for women, and I think that, like, an empowerment, and I think so. And yet she's still, it's real. I think I find it very fascinating because as someone who, as powerful as she is, as much success as she has, she's still, her music is still so often derided as like just, she just talks about her exes, or and it's like, and it's such, I grew up reading romance. Like, romance has always been my genre. Like, it, i I love it. I I became a strong reader on, like, reading the Sweet Dreams books and the Sweet Valley High books, and then I read my grandmother's Harlequin romance books, and, like, so those are the books that, like, you know I grew up with. And then, I remember going to grad school, and I was attending a fiction workshop class, and, like, everyone else in my class was writing books about, like, enlightenment that they found on some trip to India, which these were all white people who were really also very privileged. So of course it was just like the most cliche thing that you could imagine. But then I was coming in writing like these, like, essentially like fanfic, but romancy type stories, and everyone hated it. My professor hated it. There was like one other girl who got it, who was like my kind of people. And so, like, for a long time I've just seen the industry on the whole, like, put down what women like, what like our interests, what we like to talk about happy endings, right? Because that's what we want for ourselves. Like, no one goes around thinking like, oh yeah, I just think that everyone should be miserable and, whatever depressing state that so much of the stuff that I had to read in my workshop classes ended. So, and so for me, I find that I connect to Taylor Swift in that she is out there. She's writing the stuff that she wants to write. She's talking about the things that she wants to talk about. And she's incredibly successful doing it. And yet she still gets put down. And she's still like, and it's like there's something to be said about that, and something to relate to about that.
That is powerful. Honest, it's something we've talked about on the show a little bit. Like, feels like if there's something that women love, automatically it just gets shit on. Whatever romance, Taylor Swift, like the things that for some reason just hits our soul, it's automatically foolish or silly or not important. And so I love hearing what you're saying. Like, no, it is important. We're allowed to have these things and love these things, and so many of us do. Yeah, and she's so talented. Actually, there's a podcast, Turning to Story, and they broke down some of her songs, her lyrics, and her storytelling. And I thought, God, she's just so good. So I love that. I love it. It sounds like you were always a reader, And it seems
Yes.
like even in college, we had some writerish, readerish things happening. Now, did you know you always wanted to be a literary agent, or how did that happen?
Mm.
Yeah, so yes, I have always been a reader. In the third grade, I recall we did a competition, a class competition about who read the most books. And we were given one sheet, and I filled up my sheet front and back. I read 72 books in 1 month.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I blew everyone out of the water. I'm a very fast reader, which is good for being a lit agent. But um, those Harlequin romances that I mentioned, I read them in high school, and my grandmother was a subscriber. So I just grabbed whatever she had. And so there was one that I remember where the main character was like this editorial type person, and she travels to this town to find this author who has suddenly decided to stop writing. And she's like, no, I gotta, like, this is a best-selling author. And it turns out that the writer was pretending to be a woman, but it was actually, so he's totally catfishing her, but he was a guy. But it's the 80s, so no one
Yeah.
thought about catfishing as
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
So it was totally okay for it to be a trope in a romance book. But anyway, she gets there, and it turns out that, like, he's kind of pretending that it was his aunt who was the one who was writing, and he's just like this grumpy guy, and they have this whole like little bit of enemies to lovers thing going on. But anyway, I was so struck by this like character's profession, and I was like, that seems like the ideal thing to do, like help writers get books out there. Now, I wouldn't say that the book itself was accurate in terms of describing what an editor does. Like, I think that at the end of the day, I think that it was very much more of what an agent does, which is like makes sense as to why I ended up where I think I finally ended up where I wanted to be.
Mm.
But I did my undergraduate degree I went to the University of Puerto Rico, and there's no such thing as an English degree or a writing degree at the time I was there. You would do a bachelor in the humanities,
Mm.
and I have a concentration in English literature. And then everyone was like, "Oh, are you going to be a teacher?" And I was like, "Teachers are wonderful, but I am absolutely not meant to be a teacher. That is not what I want to do with my life. I want to work in publishing." So once I graduated, I found the Emerson College Publishing and Writing program, and that's where I took those workshop classes that I mentioned. But I went there, and it was wonderful. I don't think I always tell people, like, you don't have to get a graduate degree to work in publishing. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily everyone's path, but there were very specific reasons that made it the perfect path for me, and I have no regrets about doing that. Um, so I worked in scholarly publishing for a long time, and then through one of my best friends at my job, I met the person who is the boss, the like founder of my literary agency. And so I sort of started working with her behind the scenes, and then over time, um, like it started out being like, Ava, you like to read? Do you want to help like read the manuscripts? And so I just started doing that sort of back end work, and then I started helping out with queries, and I enjoyed it all. So when she was looking to expand, I was the sort of second agent who started at the agency. And it was a really nice fit because she and I have very sort of distinct tastes. So we complement each other really well. And it allowed the agency to grow in a really fun way.
Mm. Speaking of your taste, what genres do you represent?
Yeah, so I do young adult, and middle grade fiction. In the middle grade space, my tastes lean slightly more literary, but I do both contemporary and fantasy. Um, in young adults, I'd say that that's where like my tastes are the most broad. Um, and I will look at anything. I tend to shy away from anything though that is like an issues book, or like, anything you'd comp to like All the Bright Places or The Fault in Our Stars. I'm not one for tearjerkers. Like, I understand why people love them. I understand the whole book talk sensation piece, but those are just not books for me. I like to say that my brand is about joy. And then in the adult space, I do primarily romance, except I don't do inspirational romance. I'd say that's pretty much the only real thing I don't do in the romance space. I do fantasy, and then like some upmarket thriller suspense type stuff.
Wow. Yeah, you are abroad in your genre choices. And I love that. And I'm sure it makes it pretty fun of just like having all of these variations of books and stories. And I love that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's nice to have like changes of pace.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I can only imagine. Like, and I can only imagine how much you read every day or at night or whenever the heck you have time. What when you're, getting queries and reading manuscripts, like what makes something stand out to you?
I mean, I think it's to me, there's so much invested in like characters and the voice. So I think that if it's a characters I can root for, a voice that I can't stop thinking about, that's really, uh, that's the thing that's really going to draw me into the book, first and foremost. And, like, 'cause I feel like, sometimes plot is great, like like a really interesting, intricate plot. But I think that if to really want to stay with it, you really have to feel something for the characters. You want to be rooting for them in some way, or even if it's rooting against them. Like,
Mhm.
there's just something. There has to be something there that draws you into the work. And I think I especially love things that have that very strong voice component, which is kind of hard to define because it's not like just narrative voice, and it's not just the voice of the character. Like it's like the sum of all of that, where it's like, it's the author's personality in some ways coming through, and it helps bring the characters to life.
Mm. Yeah. So thinking about queries and all the samples you get, what are there any like common pitfalls that you see when you're looking at queries and chapter samples?
I think there's a lot of the like, so what? Like, it, like, oh, I think there's sometimes stories that just feel so done. I see that a
Mm.
lot in my inbox. You know, Especially, for example, like I cover a lot of romance, and so sometimes it's like you're seeing the same tropes over and over again, and it's like, what makes one road trip
Mm.
rom-com better than another? Like, again, it really comes down to that, like, what is driving this story? Why am I going to stay with this? Like, how is this really distinguishing itself from the rest of the pack? And it's so hard to give authors advice because obviously they don't see the same amount of things that we're seeing in our inbox, and like, they have that great story idea. So, like, I think one thing to sometimes, is to sort of like take a step back and say, like, okay, like, if this didn't happen, like, what is really keeping these characters apart? Like, that will tell you, like, is this high stakes enough? Is this really something that is going to compel people to like keep going and stay with these characters and follow them on their journey? Like I said, I really love stories that end with that bring joy, that have happy endings, but that isn't to say that they can't have their fair share of angst and heartache. And like, my favorite kind of books are those books that you're literally in tears. You're like, I don't know how this is going to end. And then when an author can bring it around and like end on such a good, happy, hopeful note, like, those are the best books, because you just
Mm.
they give you a hangover, and you're like, oh, this book, like, it tore my heart out and it pieced it back together again. And like, that's like the best feeling.
Oh,
Mm.
those are my favorite too, honestly. I just, yeah, I can't get enough. That it's like that good feeling afterwards, like you could take a breath. Oh, they did it. However
Uh-huh.
they did it, they did
Yes.
it. I love that. I love that. But honestly, it sounds like it's really good advice, like what you're saying, like digging deeper into characters and their motivation and and I feel like so much. I always feel like every time I start a new project, I have to learn how to rewrite all over again. And, I always forget like the character's motivation, their stakes, like the personal stakes really just carry the whole book, plot, whatever, but like it's that something about them, and you know, you want to root for them, or like you said, or hope they see their demise, whatever it may be. Which I love. We like that too. We love a good morally gray character as well. Um,
Hmm.
is there anything like in writing or in a query that sort of like alerts you that, oh, maybe this writer just isn't ready yet? You know,
Mm.
kind of sets off a little, you know, maybe not red flag,
Yeah.
pink flag.
Yeah, I'd say like, yeah, I'd say that there's certain like cliched starts that, there, like that just happen. The to people when they're earlier in their career. And it isn't to say that like established authors don't do this ever, whatever. Obviously, there's always exceptions to every rule, but like, there's something, especially when you're like right now, I think I have something ridiculous like 700 queries in my inbox. And,
Oh
when you're
man.
reading through them and they all sort of start with the character waking up, you're like, this is, like I understand why it seems like a great place to start a book, but
Mm.
there are many reasons why that's not a great place to start a book. And the main one is that a lot of people do it. um,
Mm.
and so that then you have to like, what happens is that you're setting a bar for yourself, or like, because it's not like I'm making a decision in a vacuum either. Like
Mm.
like, again, when I'm looking through queries, like, sometimes you'll see these query trends and you'll see like, okay, I have like a bunch of Peter Pan retellings in my inbox for some reason. And so like, you're like, okay, well, this one's better than that one. Like you can easily, you make those comparisons. And these are things that happen. Like I know that there's a ton of concern right now about like people stealing ideas, about stealing pitches from these Twitter events and AI stuff and all that stuff. And I will say that, like, while that certainly is a thing to be concerned about, like, the reality is that a lot of this sort of stuff happens completely organically. And there's just like,
Mm.
like there's just cultural shifts and interests. And so, like I feel like recently there's been a lot of like Hades and Persephone interests in stories. And I don't know if it's because of the Lore Olympus series or like the success of Katie Roberts series, but there've been a couple of big, lots of Greek mythology success. And so
Mhm.
then you start to see a lot of that in your inbox. And, again, because it's all coming in at the same time, it becomes, like you start to, you can't help but compare one project to the other, even if they're different. But they're always different. I haven't ever seen anything where I got two projects from different authors that were exactly the same. It's always completely different. But, then one is more suited to my taste or the other. And I think that's the other hard thing like for authors to sometimes understand, or really like, I mean, I think they get it, but it's like to really get it is like, from my side, it's not about like one project being good or bad. It's like one project being a better fit for me versus one where I could be like, yeah, that's fine. But I don't, I'm not especially drawn to how they did whatever, or the narrative voice just didn't grip me, or, like it could be one in a million things. And it's sort of like so hard to, especially when you're constantly having to like give out this rejection, like, being able to quantify why is really hard. Because sometimes it's just like gut feeling. um, and I always want to be like, but I'm just, it's not a statement on the author, even though I know it feels like it. It's more about me. I'm like, these passes, it's like, what is that? Isn't it that serious? It's like, I'm just not that into you or something. But it's like more about like, it's more about the person and not the person being rejected. Like it's just me. It's about me. It's not about you. Um, but that's, no one believes that, because it's really hard to like understand that when you're doing something so personal and,
Mm.
that you've poured your heart and soul into.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing, like it all comes down person to person. And that's why we love having agents on and hearing those things, because I think it helps all of us like kind of piece together the wait times, the rejections. That's just part of the process.
For
I feel
sure.
that, yeah. No,
Yeah,
and
well,
that's like
I'm always,
Melanie was saying, we love having agents on because truly everything feels so personal in the
mm,
in the author space. Everything feels personal, but like you said, you have 700 queries. So it's probably hard for you to make things all personal because you're a little busy at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it's like I have the 700 queries, and that's a small part of my job. I have like
Yeah.
a lot. I have like I have a full author list. That's, like I can't, I'm like, oh, I can't rep 700 of those authors, but I can barely rep like 10 of those people in my inbox
Yes.
at the moment, right? Like I only have a couple of slots really open on my list right now. So it's like, it's really hard because, and there's a lot of like FOMO on my side too, because I'd say like in the past like 2 weeks I've gotten so many people who've had offers of representation that I just keep being like, I'm so sorry, but I just don't have the time right now. And you'd think like, oh, but there's 2 more weeks to read, and I'm like, I'm lucky to find time to sleep. So,
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, I mean, I want to know, like, what is a day in the life for you? I mean, we've heard from many agents, it's different every day, but like a typical day for you, or day and night, I guess I could say.
yeah, I mean, I'd say like most of my 9 to 5 is a lot of just I do a lot of email at that time, and I'm just sort of like either communicating with the questions that come in during the day or handling different like contracts. And um luckily now that I'm 7 years into my career, I do consistently have contracts that I need to look at for XY reasons. And I have authors who have different things going on. Like today, one of my authors had a cover reveal, so part of my day, like I spent building Canva images and putting
I
that on
love
our
that.
social media, like supporting the authors with that sort of visibility. I have another author who, I think she had to write a letter for ARC readers, so she sent me the copy to see if it sounded okay. And so it's like a lot of like that kind of quick review stuff. And then and that's, I'd say, like I try to keep that. I do a lot of that work on the 9 to 5. And then in the evenings I shift to more editorial stuff. So I have like a couple of authors who have sent revisions back, so I need to like review the revisions, make sure everything's working. And then I have a couple authors who have sent me manuscripts that need first reads, and usually those like I will do like once I'm in bed. So like then I read on my phone, and I tend to read those on my phone. And if I have notes, I use the like Apple Notes app to start my editorial notes to them. But and then so it's sort of like a blend. And then I also will do a lot of my query manager work phone too. So I will just sit in bed and read queries. Um, and then just sort of do that from there.
Do you find it hard to switch off after reading queries in bed?
No.
No.
I mean, so I am a night owl. So um I tend to my more normal bedtime is something like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I wake up most days around 8:30. So I feel like I get a good chunk of time where I sleep. But uh definitely not in like 8 to 8 type of sleeper here.
No, that's fair. Now I
You
want
must
to
sleep
ask.
hard. You must sleep hard when you finally do sleep. You just like
Uh,
beg to the world.
my family used to joke that I was gonna. So obviously, I grew up living in Puerto Rico. So the joke was that a hurricane would hit the island, and I wouldn't have noticed. Me and my brother, the two of us, be like, "Oh, did the roof blow off the house?" And we had no idea.
Just passed out. I love
Just
that.
totally out.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed. My husband's like that. It's like I drop stuff in the kitchen and nothing. Like he'll sleep straight through it. I'm always in awe of people who sleep like that.
Yeah, it's well because it's like it takes me so long to finally get to sleep that once I'm
Mm.
asleep, my body's like done.
Mm. Okay. Well, something I wanted to ask, we've seen like a recent increase in like query wait times as a general. What does that look like from your end?
like a real thing that's happened. So I can see to like, so for a while I was on a pretty good streak where I was responding to queries under 2 weeks. And
Mm,
then what happened was that I started getting more queries, and it just became I
mm,
was getting them at a pace that I could not sustain that sort of turnaround. Because the reality is I don't look at my query inbox every day. I
mm,
just can't, or and even if I do, I don't process as many that come in, so that there's always like it just starts to incrementally increase.
mm,
So last year I like out of the blue shut my inbox like October 15th, and then I decided to open on January 1st. And I purposely did not say anything to anyone. I just reopened. And even though I did not say anything to anyone,
mm,
I did not, I made no announcements. Like I think I shared like my new MSWL, but that was like the extent of what I did. Um, I got 900 queries in the month of January,
Oh my
which is
wow.
God.
essentially like if you calculate that out, it's about 21 queries per day, which is a
Mm,
lot. And my previous like average was about 14, well, I had started out and it was like maybe 8 queries
mm,
per day, and it had slowly started to increase. And like I'd say like mid last year, I was consistently hitting about between 13 to 15 queries per day.
mm,
And since then, like the month of February was like 17 queries per day. And this month it has stabilized and it's gone down to like about 14 queries per day, which I'm like, okay, that's like a kind of manageable pace,
mm,
but it's still a lot. And it's like,
Yeah.
and it's not like, I'm like, it's not like, wouldn't say that. And I think this is true of most agents. It's not that we sit down and we read every single thing that someone has submitted. Like if we kind of know early on, like, well, this is probably not a fit, but you still do read and you take some time with it and you decide like, okay, maybe I'm not reading the full 3 chapters they sent me, but let me like at least look at these opening pages, see if it draws me in. Um, all of that takes some time. And so like as you when you start to multiply the time, it's like, oh, well, okay, now I see why it might not be sustainable to turn around and keep the query inbox at query zero, and
mm,
and why those turnaround times increase. I personally try to get answers to authors within 60 days. So my query manager turns things bright red when I am past the 60-day
Huh?
mark.
mm,
And I don't like to see the bright red note like emails in my inbox. So I am usually pretty good about clearing things out around that point. Sometimes like things will hang around a little longer and it's just because I like haven't made a final decision, or I want to request it, but I also am super behind on my full requests. And I have a lot of I was raised Catholic, so I have a lot of guilt around like
Yeah.
having had these manuscripts for as long as I have. And it's like, and it's really hard to let them go because I look at them
mm,
and I'm like, no, 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 I really want to read it, but I just don't have the time. Or, like if I did want to offer representation, I want to be sure that I have the time to give the author in order to like
yeah.
deal with whatever notes they have and getting, and so like it really becomes this like timing issue. Um, and so like sometimes like I try to be as really forthright with authors and as open as I can. And, like if they'll email me, I'm always like, okay, like it's totally my fault. There's nothing wrong with your submission. I just haven't had the time. If you want to withdraw, I totally understand, but I still definitely want to read. So, and most of the time they choose to
Mm,
keep it with me, but like, I would never fault anyone for saying like, you know what, I'm done. I'm just gonna take it, because I get it. Like it is a long time. And I wish I had like better reasons, but it's just like overwhelm. I'm like everyone else in publishing. I feel like I'm constantly treading water and not making much progress.
Yeah,
mm,
that feels real. That feels
mm,
very real. I'm seeing, speaking of time, like our time has dwindled down, which is wild, but um it's so fun having you on and just like listening to you and feeling your energy, because you could feel like your excitement and love for
mm.
books and authors and all of the things. I guess within this 2 minutes, do you have any advice for querying authors or budding authors?
I think the one thing that people shouldn't do is self-reject. So like
Mm.
take the chances, shoot your shot. Like, it may not work out. And definitely like obviously protect your own mental health. That's also important. So like if you really
Mm.
don't want to deal with the rejection, that's totally fine. But there's nothing, like at the end of the day, when you're querying, yes, you're going to hear a lot of no's, and they suck. But it's also that really should be the worst thing you're hearing is no. Like, and is it like, yeah, that's okay. It's not it seems like a closed door, but in some ways it just means that you can move on. There's a little bit of closure. You can keep going
Mm.
and, like really go to find that yes. And all you need is one yes. And that means that that door is opened. Now, I won't say that that's the right yes. Sometimes you have to make those further decisions for yourself, but at least there's opportunity. And I think that, you know, at at the heart, like most agents I know, most people in publishing that I know, we all really share this love of books,
Mm.
and we we want authors to succeed. Like I know it seems like we're all like, I mean, you go onto Twitter and you think everyone's at war with each other. Agents are at wars with editors, editors are at war with agents, authors are at war, like everyone's mad at each other, no one's happy. But I think really the ultimate thing is like we all want to work together. We all want to, accomplish the same thing, which is get these wonderful stories out to the world and share them with other people. And
Yes.
like one of the biggest joys in my life is seeing books that I have, helped champion through the process and like see them on bookshelves and see
Yeah.
like random people connecting with them. I had like a high school classmate email me because she read the acknowledgments of a book and she was like, did you do this? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's one of my authors. And like, then she told me about how she liked the book and it was just like the best feeling ever.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
amazing.